Hello dear students and welcome back to the video lectures of social science for class 8th. Here I am providing you the second part of the chapter number 3 of history, that is ruling Indian villages and towns. In the previous part of this chapter we have already discussed about this thing, that how Britishers got the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. We have learned about that what is Diwani rights, that means the right to collect revenue from these regions. And we have learned this thing also, that the English East India Company got this right after the Battle of Buxar according to the Treaty of Allahabad that took place on 12th August 1765. In the previous part we have discussed about that how Britishers was initially ignoring the agriculture in India. Later on, since the degradation in the agriculture also results in the loss in the revenue collections, that is why later they started focusing upon the agricultural activities in India. For that only we have learned about the very famous system, that is the Mahalwadi system, permanent system they have introduced. Okay, we have learned the Mahalwadi, the permanent, as well as the Rayotwari system. We have learned this thing in the previous part about the permanent settlement, that who introduced the permanent settlement. Sir Charles Cornwallis introduced it in some parts of India, that is Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, approximately 19% of Indian land. This method was applied. Okay, so they have recruited the zamindars, or they have given the responsibilities to the zamindars for the collection of revenue from the villagers or from the farmers. Okay, we have also learned about some of the demerits. What were the demerits of permanent settlement on the farmers, on the zamindars, as well as for the Britishers also. Let's have a look. In this chapter we will be learning about the two other methods, that is Mahalwadi as well as the Rayotwari system. But before starting the chapter, let's have a quick view on the content. So in this chapter we are going to learn about the Mahalwadi settlement. We will see features of the Mahalwadi settlement. Rayotwari settlement we will learn features of the Rayotwari settlement, as well as we will learn about result of these agrarian policies on Indian farmers. So let us start the chapter, and here we are going to learn about the Mahalwadi system. As we have learned in the previous part, that permanent settlement has several challenges. Okay, since zamindars were acting as the mediator between the farmers and Britishers or English East India Company, so the supply of income was, Britishers were not that much happy with the interference of the zamindars, and they have also looked upon this thing, that the zamindars were not doing anything for improving the agriculture. As well as in permanent settlement, the revenue system was fixed permanently. So that is why, if it was fixed permanently, if the farmers used to produce good, in that situation also the Britishers used to get limited amount of revenue only. So that is why the company needed more money, and to meet its expenses of administration and trade. Therefore, in northwestern provinces of India, in the later half, on the other portion of India, Britishers introduced this system, that is Holt Mackenzie introduced an alternative system known as Mahalwadi settlement. Okay, in some of the villages of India this method was applied in 1822, and who introduced this system was Holt Mackenzie. Let us learn about what is that. Holt Mackenzie said villages are the important social institutions and needed to be preserved. That means Holt Mackenzie gave an importance to the villages, means like earlier in the permanent settlement the revenue was collected by an individual. Here the revenue will be collected by the whole village together. Now there is no role of zamindars, and in Mahalwadi system the role of collecting the revenue was given to the village headman. Okay, so here, since the system named as Mahalwadi, to one village or a group of villages is known as Mahal. Okay, so in this system each village is considered as Mahal. In village there are several farmers, and with the head of the village, okay, that is headman, is responsible for collecting the revenue now in place of zamindars. Mahal can be one village also, as well as it can be a group of villages also. The estimated revenue of each plot within a village was added up to calculate the revenue that each village Mahal had to pay. Okay, after surveys and all those things, after checking upon the land and all that, the revenue has been decided, and it was decided amount of revenue should be given by the village headman to the Britishers. How revenue was estimated? Now how revenue was estimated? For estimating, for researching that how much revenue can be collected from a particular farm, the English East India Company appointed collectors. Those collectors went from village to village, inspect the land, measure the field, and record the customs and rights of different groups. Okay, now the English East India Company appointed some collectors, those who were responsible for checking upon the land. For they used to go from the village to village, they used to inspect the land, measure the field, and record the customs and rights of different groups. Like in permanent settlement, Mehelwadi settlement, the revenue amount was revised periodically. Since the permanently fixed revenue amount was the problem in the Mehelwadi settlement, in the permanent settlement. That is why in Mehelwadi settlement it was introduced that now the amount of revenue will be revised after some years. So it was not fixed permanently like permanent settlement. Now the question arises, who was responsible for collecting the revenue? So in permanent settlement, zamindars were responsible for collecting the revenues, but here in Mehelwadi settlement, village headmen, also known as lambardars, were responsible for collecting the revenue, and they gave it to the British officials. Now, zamindar were not given more responsible for collecting the revenue. By this, the Britishers downsized the role of zamindars in the revenue collection system. So, what happened here with the introduction of the Mehelwadi system? The role of zamindars degraded. Okay. Now the next one is, let's have a look upon what are the features of the Mehelwadi system. First of all, what is the unit of revenue collection or settlement was village or Mehel. Village means one village and Mehel is known as group of villages. Okay. So in permanent settlement, revenue was collected by an individual person, but in Mehelwadi it is being collected by the Mehel, group of villages or a village together. The revenue demand was made collectively on the village. Earlier, the revenue demand was made by individual person, but now the revenue demand was made collectively by the village. The village headman or lambardar was responsible for collecting the revenue and making it over to the government. Earlier, in the permanent settlement, the responsibility of collecting the revenue was given to the zamindars. In Mehelwadi, it is given to the village headmen, also known as lambardars. The collectors fix the revenue on the basis of the type of land, total land under cultivation, and customs and rights of different agricultural groups. Like in previous method, in the permanent settlement, no such kind of provisions were there. Land was not measured, land was not surveyed, okay, and only the revenue amount was fixed like that only. Here in the Mehelwadi settlement, Britishers appointed some officials, those who were known as collectors, those who were responsible for measuring the land, for checking upon the cropping pattern, for checking upon the cropping methods of the farmers. They estimated, and according to that only they estimate the revenue. The estimated revenue of each plot within the village was added up to calculate the revenue of each village or Mehel. Okay, in a particular village all the land is able to fertile or able to grow crops are calculated, their estimated revenue is calculated, and according to that the land of all the revenue of all the village is calculated together. Okay. Now, the rate of revenue was to be revised periodically and not fixed permanently. This is the most important feature of the Mehelwadi settlement, that here the rate of collection of revenue was not permanent, it revised periodically. But there was a demerit of this, that Britishers used to revise, they introduced the provision of revision, but revision doesn't mean that the revenue will deduct. Revenue will always increase according to the Britishers. Now we have another system that is known as the Ryotwari system or the Munro system. As when I was explaining you the first part of this video, I have given you some keywords, and in that keywords we have learned about the ryots. The question arises, who were the ryots? Ryots were the farmers, those who were doing farming in the southern part of India. In South India, there was no provisions of zamindars. Zamindars were not existing in South India. That is why Britishers have to introduce some other method of revenue collection in the southern part of India, basically in the Madras region. So that is why the farmers of the Madras region or the South Indian region were known as ryots. That is why the system introduced by English East India Company was known as Ryotwari system. Let's have a look upon on Ryotwari system. In the British territories of South India, the Ryotwari, or it is also known as Munro system, was advised. Why Munro system it is known as? It is known as Munro system on the name of the person who designed it. In South India, there were no tradition of zamindars. That is why there is Ryotwari system. Firstly, Munro system was tried in a small scale by Captain Alexander Reed on territories gained by Tipu Sultan. Earlier, the territories that were gained by the English East India Company, okay, from Tipu Sultan, Alexander Reed was a person who has adopted this method on a very small region. And after this method gets success, the next one, Thomas Munro, tried to apply it on a large scale, that means on whole South India, and that is why it is said that the Munro system or the Rayotwari system was introduced by Alexander Reed as well as Thomas Munro. Alexander Reed introduced it and Thomas Munro expanded. But if the question comes like anywhere that who introduced the system and both the names are given together, so you have to give the answer for both the names. Later on, the system was developed by Thomas Munro and gradually spread all over South India. Nextly, we have why it is known as Rayotwari system. Because ryots, some cultivators in South India, since there was no traditional zamindari in South India, therefore the settlements were to be directly settled with ryots. Since Rayotwari system was not there, so that is why the English East India Company started collecting the tax to the individual planters only, to the individual farmers or the individual peasants only, those who are known as ryots. That means in this system there is no intermediary, like in permanent settlement there was zamindar, in Mahalwadi settlement there was villageman or headman, but here in this system there is no middleman. Okay, the tax or revenue will be collected by the British officials directly by the ryots. So how the revenue will be collected? Their field had to be carefully and separately surveyed before the revenue was made. Okay, their field will be surveyed properly. After that only the estimated revenue was decided. The revenue was collected by individuals separately. The collectors, the British collectors will go to single ryots and they will collect the revenue from them. The British officials were responsible for collecting the revenue. Now, what were the features of the Rayotwari system? Here, the land revenue was directly taken from the ryots or the cultivators. There is no intermediary between. The cultivators were the landowners and there was no intermediary. Who were the cultivators or who were the ryots? Ryots were the person, those who belongs to that land, those who own a particular area of land and perform farming on it. The revenue was very high and collected rapidly. Rapidly means fastly, every time the revenue was collected. The cultivators had to pay even if their crop were destroyed, as the previous two systems. If the crop was destroyed or failed, then also these are planters or the peasants of India have to pay the revenue, and for that they have to take the loans. The land revenue was revised and increased after every 20 to 30 years. Here also the land revenue was not permanent, it keep on revising after some years. This system was benefited the government. This system also benefited the government because they keep on increasing the revenue. The peasants were overburdened with heavy taxes, but slowly in some years the peasants started feeling burden of the heavy taxes, and since Britishers were also not doing anything for improving the agriculture, so later on the revenue or the production of the field also decreases. They often had to take loans to pay the land revenue, and as the production was not that much, the peasants or the ryots were not able to pay the loan, pay the taxes or pay the revenue. For that they have to take the loan, and the money lenders used to give loan to them at a very high interest rate. That leads ultimately, okay, the farmers started selling their land, or they lost their rights over their paternal land, or they have to mortgage their land for any emergency or for giving or for paying the revenue. So that is why the condition of the farmers by all these three methods became worse in India. Result of all the three revenue system was the revenue rates were very high, whether they have adopted permanent, Mahalwadi or Rayotwari settlement. In all the three settlements the revenue rate was very high. The British officials adopted oppressive measures for collecting the revenue. Since some of the farmers were not ready to pay the revenue, the Britishers started beating up them, they started kidnapping their family members. Okay, they have also appointed lathials, some of the strong men, those who beat the farmers, those who were not able to give the revenue. Peasants were forced to lead miserable life, and since slowly the peasants were not able to grow that much production, that is why they were not able to pay the revenue, and that is why they were forced, their land were taken by the Britishers and they were forced to live or left the agriculture and led a miserable life. That is why most of the farmers will move towards the city areas for better job opportunities. Okay, they become landless laborers and fled from countryside, and villages become deserted. That means most of the people started leaving the villages because villages were acquired by the Britishers. So this was about the Rayotwari settlement. So in the previous part we have discussed about the permanent settlement. In this we have discussed about the Rayotwari settlement and Mahalwadi settlement. In the next part, we will be discussing about a new crop, that is indigo. We will learn about that why Britishers took so much interest in the Indian indigo, why indigo was better grown in India only, and what were the methods that were adopted by the Britishers to grow India or the European power to grow indigo in India. What were the demerits of the indigo crops for the Indians, as well as we will learn about that the oppressive methods that were adopted by the Britishers resulted in the operation or the revolt or the rebel by the indigo planters. So that is why we will learn about the indigo rebel also, all the blue rebellion also. We will learn about that what was the major changes that was done by the Britishers in the revenue collection system after the indigo rebel. So in this chapter, please watch this video. I hope you will like it and you will be able to understood. In case of any problem, you can refer to the Zoom classes and solve your queries. So please watch the video. Thank you, students.